How would I unmute? No, I just told Tatiana now. I shouldn't have started it now.
Are we okay to begin?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Again, thank you so much for having me. Welcome me into your church and your family. My name is Breck Peroni, and my company is Peroni Financial Group. We operate out of Middleborough, Massachusetts, just a little bit up the road. And Pastor had asked me to come in and provide some education and opportunities for you to obtain life insurance if that's something that's important to you. So I'm going to give you some of the basics understanding of what life insurance is, how it can benefit you and your family. And please keep this very interactive. Feel free to ask as many questions as you'd like. I know this is new for many of you, so any question is appropriate. Don't hesitate to ask. So essentially, I just have a simple little handout here that explains that in a general sense, life insurance is for those that are left behind, right? Upon your passing, after paying a certain amount of premium over time, basically a life insurance proceed or a death benefit is passed on to your loved ones. Actually, it's passed to your beneficiary, who that may be. That beneficiary could be a spouse, it could be children, it could be a charity, whatever it may be. You have the opportunity to name that beneficiary and change it at any point in time. Okay? So there's a few different types of life insurance. The main objective of each one is to provide protection. Okay? In the event of an untimely demise, like I said, the insurance company would then provide a proceed called a death benefit to those loved ones. What's required in order to receive that proceed is just a death certificate. So you would turn that in with a claim form to the insurance company, and they would pay out the claim. Life insurance proceeds are tax-free. So there's an additional benefit to that as well. Sometimes the question is, how much coverage should I have? And as a general rule, insurance companies will only insure things or people for what they're worth, right? So if our home is worth $300,000, they're going to give us $300,000 of coverage, not going to insure us for $500,000, right? If that burned down, they're not writing a check for $500,000. Well, they'll look at you in a similar way. So they know that each person has an economic value, and that's based on what you earn. So hypothetically, for easy math's sake, if you make $100,000 a year and you're 25 years old, they're going to give you 30 times income. So that's $3 million of insurance as a general rule. If you're 50 years old and you make that same 100,000, it may only be 20 times earnings because your number of years left to work has been reduced. So it might be $2 million worth of insurability. Okay? You don't have to take what you're insurable for. If that's not affordable to you, you take what you need. Okay? So some people will think of it only as a final expense, meaning it's enough to bury you. Other people want to look at it, I want to pay up the mortgage so that my spouse and children can stay in the home, or they can live without expensive rent, or whatever it may be, whatever the family situation is. So each of you have to evaluate your own personal situation and determine what is best for you. And life insurance isn't a one-time thing. Okay, oftentimes people buy insurance multiple times over their lifetime. So maybe in the beginning, when they're younger or their income is lower, maybe they only have $100,000 of coverage. But 2-3 years down the road, maybe they've now had a second kid or a third kid, or they bought a house, and now they need more insurance. So they take out a second policy and they raise that coverage. Maybe they take out another $200,000, whatever the number is. I personally have 9 policies at this stage of my life. And so even as an advisor, my needs evolve over time, right? And what I needed 20 years ago, I didn't know what I needed in the future, but even if I knew, I wouldn't have been able to afford it, right? So we have to go by where are we at today and what makes sense for us, okay? So I'm going to draw on this whiteboard, and if you can't hear me, please raise your hand, let me know. Okay, room's falling off.
You can take the microphone.
Okay. So essentially, there's three different types of life insurance. The most popular or common is called term insurance. Okay? And term insurance says we're going to buy you insurance for a certain term or period of time. So in a lot of cases, that may be a 20-year term. So that's a 20-year term policy. And what happens is you have a certain amount of coverage. Let's just say it's $500,000, and it costs, let's say, $1,000 a year. Okay. During this 20-year period of time, you have $500,000 of coverage, and you pay $1,000 a year. Just like auto insurance, like home insurance, you pay the premium each year. There's no claim. The money's gone. No claim. If at some point there's a claim, they pay out the $500,000. But at the end of the 20 years, the coverage is gone. Okay. So you would have outlaid, in this case, 20 years times $20,000, you no longer have any coverage. And this is why, one reason why sometimes people will then, like I said, as they're earning more money or have a greater need, they may come along after 6 or 7 years, add another policy, so maybe that's going for another 20 years, okay? The problem with this strategy is that our insurability or our health can change, okay? So when we're younger and healthier, insurance is much more affordable and cost effective. As we get older, we either become uninsurable or we pay a lot more for it, okay? So a healthy 20-year-old versus a healthy 50-year-old for the same amount of coverage, he may pay 5 times more of the premium. Not much of a difference, okay? If you're a smoker, the premium will now be 3 times that. If you have any medical issues, the premium can be high, okay? So these are the things that have to be considered, and I can help guide you as you're trying to figure that out, okay? Any questions on how term insurance, buying insurance for a certain period of time works? Yes?
Yes, you said if you get $1,000 at the start, so for a 20-year time, so how do you get that one to grow home for the 20 years?
So the question is, how do we get that coverage to continue beyond the 20 years, right from the beginning? So I'm going to explain that. It's a great question. And we're going to go into 2 other types of insurance that will answer his question. Okay? So the second type of product is called universal life. The way this works is that same $500,000 of coverage, that may cost $7,000 a year, let's just say. It has a level premium for life, and the death benefit never goes away. There's no end date, okay? It continues. The way this plan works is it has a level premium, as you can see here, and then it actually accumulates a cash value over time. So you can see the cash growing up, and then it goes down. The reason why it's going down is because it has an increasing cost of insurance. So as a person is getting older, the cost of insurance is rising. But in order to keep you at that level $7,000 a year premium, it accumulates more because you're basically overpaying in the beginning years. That's why you're accumulating cash, right? Over here, that same amount of coverage was only costing $1,000. Here we're paying $7,000. But in the end, it was costing $12,000, $18,000, or $20,000 a year. But to keep you level, always having to pay the $7,000. That's why they designed it this way, because they have that increasing cost down the road. They'll keep your premium level, you accumulate cash, and then basically by the end, you don't have any more cash, but you've got that guaranteed death benefit at the end of the $500,000. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. So that's basically like term insurance forever, right? It's like term insurance forever. You've got that premium, it's just never going away, but the coverage doesn't go away. There's actually another variety of this called variable universal life. The variable component of it says we'll let you invest this in the stock market. What's the problem with the stock market? Well, the stock market obviously goes up and down. Some people like it. They say, well, over time, I'll have a better chance of return. But if the market's down at the time that cost of insurance is on the rise, you may need to reach into your pocket and now call out more than your original premium to keep it alive. So it's an expensive product, and it actually puts the risk on you, the insured, rather than having the insurance being covered by the insurance company. So I really don't personally like that one, okay? The last one is called whole life insurance. The difference with whole life insurance is it has a level cost of insurance from the day you take it out. So there's no rising cost. It also is known as limited pay insurance. And the reason is you can stop paying for it generally somewhere between 15 and 20 years. Okay?
You're supposed to take what you're here today.
Now, if you can get that same amount of coverage for $500,000, as you imagine, this is going to cost more than this. So this type of plan might cost, say, $12,000 a year. Okay? Again, the premium never changes. The cash value grows over time and never stops growing. The death benefit grows over time and never stops growing. The only time it would stop growing would be if you stopped funding. And what would happen is at this point in time, if you made it 15 years, your death benefit would probably stay at level or increase slightly. If you get a little closer to 17 or 20 years, that cash value always continues to grow, but the death benefit actually would still continue to grow as well. It just would grow a little slower than it would be if you were funding. Okay? So again, this top line is your cash value and your death benefit. Okay? So this is really the best type of life insurance you can have, but like anything, you get what you pay for. So it's more expensive. It gives you an opportunity to have cash that actually can become usable down the road. This cash on the top, you really can't access this cash. You need that to support the future premium increase. Here, you could actually take withdrawals down the road and use it as a retirement supplement. You could pull monies out to use it for emergencies or helping a child get through college or buy their first home, whatever it may be. But what happens is, let's say your cash value grew to, say, $50,000 and the death benefit is $260,000. If you pull out $30,000, your death benefit's going to drop by about $30,000. Okay, so there's an offset with that. So it's not like you just get to take it out and use it. It's going to have reductions on what the benefits are. Because you already paid for that increase in death benefit. Okay. You can also use this during your life, like I say, for other things, emergencies, or helping someone else out.
Is that the same as a permanent life insurance?
What?
Is that the same as the permanent life insurance?
Permanent or
Permanent. Yeah, the whole insurance is different from the permanent life insurance, right?
Yeah, so both of these are permanent life insurance products, both of these ones. They're just structured differently. So permanent meaning guaranteed for life. These are guaranteed payout whenever you die. 5 years from now, 100 years from now, there is a guaranteed death benefit. It becomes a permanent guaranteed asset on your balance sheet.
So the reason I'm asking questions is like there are certain insurance are being sold ideas of wherein you invest into your insurance and you can remove money from your insurance when you want to invest into your school or your house or different things, but still paying towards that, and also at the end of your life, that insurance also can be rolled over to your kids also in terms of how you call it, their benefits or also generation wealth. You guys offer this insurance?
This is the plan for that. This is it. He's talking about generational wealth building. I can give you a little illustration. I apologize for my back with you. One thing about us in this country, we work hard. We try to accumulate our wealth, build up and save. And then historically, we get, up to this top of the mountain, and then we start to spend it down. And then upon the death of the first spouse, whoever that may be, has a remaining pot of money they can spend, and they then, spend it down. And whatever's left over upon the death of the second spouse, that generally goes to the next generation. Okay. When you have permanent life insurance of both husband and wife, it looks a little different. So you're still going to work hard, accumulate assets, save. But then when you start to spend down upon the death of the first spouse, there's actually a step up in the estate because the life insurance proceeds pull in, right? So now it's this pot of money up here that can be spent down, right? So now we start to spend that down, and then upon the death of the second spouse, there's another step up in the estate. So now it's this pot of money that can go on to the next generation. Does that make sense? So it's a way, it's a tool to help that generational wealth building, but it's not the only way. I always talk about, quality financial plan should consist of many different things: savings, vehicles, investments, insurance, real estate, things like that. Diversification so that you can pull monies out at the best time, depending on different situations, which markets are up and down, what the tax situation is. For example, okay, so basically what I wrote up here is 401k retirement plan, things that are offered through your employer. Typically, you can invest in mutual funds, stocks, and bonds separately. You can invest in an IRA or a Roth IRA. Different types of tax-free, and all of these are stock market related, right? There's volatility up and down, but over time, it's generally appreciation. Then you have this cash value life insurance we were just talking about that acts more as an uncorrelated asset class to these other ones. Okay, so it's more like the bond class. So if you have this, you can generally take a little more equity risk in your investment portfolio. If you're working and contributing to Social Security, you'd be eligible for some Social Security benefit down the road. Cash on hand, real estate. If you own your own home, you could actually eventually take equity out of that if you needed to, right? Or if you had rental property, you would have the benefit of that rental income coming in over time. And then some of you may own a business, and you may have some business income coming, or maybe you sell your business and then have that future income stream. But essentially, depending on what stage of your life at, you may turn on certain faucets, maybe starting with Social Security, and then need a supplement because Social Security may not be enough. So where do we get it? You might be withdrawing then potentially from your 401k, other investments, like I say, the Roth IRA, maybe it's the life insurance. The other nice thing about the life insurance is that you can use this in the down stock markets. So if these investments are down at the time that you need money, you can then come to the life insurance, take the withdrawals from here for the time being, then when the market's back up, go back to using these investment vehicles and using them the most efficient way. Because the worst time to take money out is when the market's down. There will be times when it's down. So it just provides greater diversification in everything you're doing, but I'm not sure what everybody's individual situation is. So that's the challenge. I did put on that sheet an information sheet for the second handout. If you wanted to provide your name, your phone number, and some information about yourself, let me know what you're interested in, and we can set up a time to have either a more detailed, personal, confidential meeting with you, or we could do some kind of group session on Zoom as well. So we have a couple options that I'm sure we could fit in. Some additional questions?
Taking money from your life insurance. If you take money, you can't pay out if you take money out from your life insurance.
So it's life insurance is withdrawn with a low interest rate. But in a whole life plan, after you've had it established for a number of years, it receives dividends each year. So depending on how much you borrow out, the dividends can be paying your loan interest for you. When it's a fully established plan like that, typically it's going to fund itself and you can just be drawing down over time. So there's no taxes, but there is loan interest being paid generally by the dividends. If there aren't enough dividends there, then you can either pay in that or reduce the policy more so that you're not having to carry the loan. So for example, you could give up, say, $20,000 of death benefit to pay off $5,000 of loan. So now you don't have a loan anymore. Depends on how you want it, what's gonna be best for you at that time of life. If it's a temporary borrow out, and you plan on putting it back over the next year, then it's better to borrow. But if it's gonna maybe be a permanent distribution in retirement, then you may just take it as a straight withdrawal. Your cost base is what you've paid into it. So let's say you've paid 80,000 into the plan over a period of time, and your cash value is 120, okay? The first 80,000, what you paid into it, is your cost basis. You get that for free. There's no loan, it's just a return of premium. Once you go beyond the cost basis, then you start paying loan interest on the additional borrowed dollars. Does that answer the question? Yeah. So, is there a fee? In essence, yes, because you're gonna pay some loan interest. If you take it as a withdrawal and it's up to your cost basis, then it's just straight withdrawal. No fee.
And we also talk about death insurance, so burial insurance.
Okay, burial insurance. So burial insurance, mortgage insurance, any kind of things like this that are described for the time of death, is all life insurance. It's all the same thing. They just call it a different name. It's life insurance. If you pass away, it's going to provide a benefit. They package products like that with a specific name because it directs, it's specific to the concern a person may have. What am I going to do when I need to be buried? It's going to cost money. So they call it burial insurance. Other people, there's other programs that say, oh, we have mortgage insurance. It's just life insurance. If you die during the period of time you have a mortgage, it pays off the balance of the mortgage. But essentially that's the first product we were talking about is mortgage insurance. You have a mortgage, let's say for 30 years, so you could have a term policy for 30 years. If you have a term, it's gone. Okay? But for burial insurance, you really want to, if you can afford this, you want whole life insurance because that's going to be generally the most efficient and longest lasting product. These sometimes fall off the books because you get older, you're no longer working, you don't have the income, people can't afford it. They went all those years paying the premium. Now the cost of insurance is on the rise. Cash value started getting eaten up, but they can't afford it anymore. So now they cash it out, they get a small amount of cash and they lost that death benefit. So you're much better off if you can even have a little less coverage, but have this plan, get it fully funded, and then you have it for life.
So the less coverage you're talking about, like how much do you think to put for the whole life insurance in terms of less coverage?
So in terms of cost, as a rough example, let's take a 40-year-old male. So $500,000 of term insurance for 20 years on a 40-year-old male is about, let's call it $700 a year. $500,000 of universal life coverage is probably around $5,000 or $6,000 a year. On whole life, it's probably closer to $8,000 or $9,000 a year. So that's the differences in the costs. And if you were to, if you knew that and you say, okay, it's going to cost $8,000 a year, that's too much for me. You say, okay, well, I'm going to reduce it. So if it was $250 instead of $500,000, it'd be about $4,000 a year, which is $350 a month. So for each person, I would run an illustration to say this is what it costs for that amount of coverage for these different plans, and then you can see yourself. Quite honestly, a lot of people have a combination of whole life and term insurance because maybe they want that $4 million of protection, hypothetically, but they can only afford, say, $200,000 here. So they'll take $200,000 here and take another $800,000 up here, just so they have the coverage they want while they're younger, while they're working, while the kids are still growing and being supported. Everybody's situation is different. Somebody else their kids may already be grown. They only want burial insurance. So let's make sure Some employers also offer group term insurance, where you get it through your company. And you pay that, small premium on your paycheck, each pay period. That's another way to have it. The only problem with group term insurance is that if you leave the company, or the company leaves you, the coverage is gone. At least this, you have it no matter where you go. You own the coverage, and you don't have to worry about losing it.
One last question.
Yes,
So the cash value insurance policy, which is connected to the personal life insurance. If it, for example, if I take a $1 million life insurance and then in that process, I want to take a cash value for say 250,000, so I want to use it whether for personal use or business or whatever it is. It doesn't really affect my insurance, right? So in that process, God forbid, I'm passed away within 10 years time. My insurance still exists. The amount of investment I took out of it still exists, but they're going to be transferred over to my family because my insurance is not just on me. And my life insurance, for example, if my life insurance was 1 million, when I pass away, my case, I go or my family will have that 1 million still in existence. Despite the amount of money I took out is a real deduction.
they'll receive it in cash,
Yes.
no longer a death benefit. The death benefit's converted to cash, and they can use it however they want. But they don't have the life. Whoever, if you have the life insurance, then your family doesn't have the coverage. They would have to take out their own policy.
No, yeah, they have that other policy, but the cash value that I insured my life for, they give it to my family.
So when you die, you get a death benefit. Cash value is a living benefit, something you get access during your life. If you have hypothetically 100,000 in cash and $1 million of death benefit, when you die, the family gets only the 100,000, only the $1 million.
Right.
I don't want to say only, but you're getting $1 million.
Right.
The 100's gone. That's your cost that you have paid into it.
Yes.
But you can access that during your life by borrowing some out or spending some down. If you spent down that full 100,000, then your death benefit is now going to be 900,000.
Yes.
Because in essence, if you took that and brought it into your family already has the 100,000.
Right. That's
That makes sense?
yeah, of course.
Okay. Any more questions on that? Yes.
Yes, like David was, it says if your health is poor, you may not be insured.
Yes, if your health is poor, the insurance company may not take on that risk. So for the same amount of coverage, people of the same age with different rate classes will pay a different premium. So one person can have perfect health, they'll pay a lower premium. Somebody that has heart issues, that has diabetes, that is a smoker, that had maybe past cancer, they're going to pay a higher premium. So it's medically underwritten.
No question.
High blood pressure is okay if it's controlled with medication. Cholesterol issues, generally cholesterol and blood pressure go together, but if they're controlled with meds, you'll be okay. You might not get a preferred rate, the best rate, but you might get the second or third tier rate. There's like 12 classes of rating. You have a preferred, then you kind of have a middle class, and then it starts being rated. It's class 2, class 4, class 6, class 8, etc. That's when you have some real medical conditions.
What do you recommend for somebody that health is really bad? What kind of
Question is, what do I recommend for somebody that has really bad health? Well, generally, again, whole life insurance is your best option, but you're going to pay a high premium, so it may not be affordable. There's certain companies that will take on certain risks. So when we know somebody has a medical condition, we'll look to see which company is best for that situation. Because one company may not write them, another one will give them the regular offer. So we have to find the right company for that individual. Or they just might not be insurable. And unfortunately, we can't help them.
so in that case, burial insurance is good for them?
Burial?
Yeah.
Well, then you might be looking at those programs they advertise on TV, where they say, we take everybody's insurable. What does that mean? You're really you're paying a lot for that coverage. There's a reason why they insure everybody up to a small amount. And it also says, in most of them, that if you die within the first 2 years, we're not going to cover you. If you die in year 3, we're only going to give you 20% of the benefit. If you die in year 4, we're only going to give you 40% of the benefit. Right? Because they know the people that are going to take that plan are those that are already sick.
If I could just put one before the if someone is very, very sick, you want to take like it's expensive to take like a whole life insurance. It's even if it's expensive, it's not for you, really, right? Most people think that you take a life insurance is for yourself. It's not for yourself. It's for your kids and generations to come. That's the kind of advice I give to anybody. Because, or the only way you can benefit from it is like I'm alive now. I can utilize this money to make sure I sustain myself. By the end of the day, you shouldn't think of a life insurance for yourself. It's taking it for yourself, but the benefits not for you. It's for those who are coming after you. They are not going to benefit from it, and that's how generation wealth are created.
Can you talk about children insurance?
What kind of
Because I've seen parents who the kids pass away, then they don't have money to bury the kids.
Okay. Yeah, so that's called juvenile insurance, and essentially it's the same type of plan. All the same options are available, but you're covering a child. For newborns, there's generally no underwriting. They'll cover the baby after a certain number of months. For kids that have been, a year or older, they'll ask a few medical questions. As long as there's no health issues, there's no medical exam process or anything, they'll just provide the coverage. So again, you have these different options, and as much as it does make sense sometimes to provide insurance for our children, especially if it's one that can accumulate for them and it can stay with them their whole life, like a whole life insurance policy, it's probably more important for the parents to have coverage first before we start putting in place a juvenile policy, right? Because we need to be here to take care of the kids. Even though it would help us if God forbid a child died, we have some fun. But that doesn't mean we can't. So that is an option. All very good questions. Any others? Yes. The question is, do I do wills? I personally do not do wills. I recommend them for families, right? It kind of ties in hand, excuse me, with when we're talking about death, right? A will is going to leave instructions behind, legal instructions that say, what do we want to happen with our stuff, our assets? So we work with a few different attorneys that can provide those types of documents, legal documents. Okay, if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me. I have business cards up here in case anybody needs them. Okay, and I'm also, on the website. You can call the office anytime. The staff can set something up for us if we need to speak further. I'm passing around the business cards now. Any other questions in the meantime that I could answer? Okay, I want to thank everybody for your time today. Enjoy your Sunday. Enjoy your gathering you're having later on this afternoon. I'm sure the food's going to be great. Yeah. And again, thank you for having me here.
Andy?
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much, Brett. I know we don't work on weekends, but we really appreciate you coming here and educate us. Because in our community, we be left behind with this one. So as a pastor, I don't want to only give spiritual food to people, want to equip all of us how to live in this world and all the different challenges that we face. This has been very enlightening. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Let's give him a big hand again.
Give it to you.
Thank you.
Don't tell me what to do. You just embarrassed me. You think that she needed.
Thank you so much. Everyone was very good. No, we all done. We did the benediction already.
No, I thought you were gonna do another one for this.